when I was 13 or 14, I made the decision to really start studying classical music seriously. During high school, the program needed violists to form string quartets. And I really enjoyed playing like the inner voice role rather than the melody all the time, and I found like it fit my personality a little bit better than the violin. When I was 18, I moved to New York City and I attended the Juilliard School for my undergrad degree, and then I moved to Houston, Texas for my master's degree.
Did y'all have a good weekend?
I've been very inspired by the faculty here.
So did you all hear the story yet? It's an old man that's looking back at his life.
Our coach for sectionals is Neil Grip. He's the principal of the OSM, which is incredible to have a player of that caliber.
So this is the heartbeat. B, D, 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 D. Shall we try? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, and did you hear in the rehearsal last time, Natasha, did you hear whether they had done that long or short? D, da, 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 da. There are no dots written, so let's try it long. Let's try it long, and then you'll be very sensitive to what they do. So we can do both ways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
That was good. Would you ever break that down into sextuplets?
No, I never did. I
So
know
let's-
some.
Let's
do
try
with
it. Bop, 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 da, 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 da. So we know this is the sick man near death. This is his heartbeat. It's one of the great moments for the timpanist in the repertoire.
I play percussion and timpani, but that covers a lot of stuff. Xylophone, bass drum, snare drum, glockenspiel, marimba, timpani, snare drum, said snare drum, triangle, castanets, woodblock, lots of things.
Let's talk about the rhythmic section coming up,
This is my 4th consecutive summer with NYO Canada.
but frequently no.
The other percussionists here, it's all their first time.
So with this, we're dealing with following the conductor.
We've all done the audition and gotten here, and now it's just time to make beautiful music.
So one of the pieces that we're playing on tour is Death and Transfiguration by Richard Strauss. And it's a tone poem that he wrote quite early in his career, and it demonstrates this remarkable range of emotional maturity. It's a really, really beautiful work about a man who is on his deathbed and is experiencing his last gasping breaths and is seeing his life flash before his eyes. I don't think I've ever made it through listening to a recording without breaking into tears. So we'll see how the tour goes, but I'm gonna need to keep it together. One thing I believe I can bring to NYO Canada is my personal experience. When I was 19 years old, I was diagnosed with a severe form of obsessive-compulsive disorder, a disease that I dealt with for most of my life since I was about 10 years old that had gone undiagnosed. Music was a means of refuge from that. Hi.
Hi. Phoebe, this is Stephen Tam. Hi.
Playing in an orchestra and feeling a sense of community, for me, that was the thing that got me through.
Do you want to do something crazy? Okay, read it backwards.
Yep.
Read it from the D flat, just note by note.
You wait for me playing or not?
Yeah, sure. Okay. You don't have to do the rhythm. Lots of support. Okay, start again from the beginning.
Okay, I like that a lot more.
I guess 3.5 is pretty early to start. I had a Russian teacher, and he had an orchestra, a chamber orchestra, and I debuted with them at 10 years old, and then played at Carnegie Hall at 14 years old.
Okay, let's go back to the life and death struggle.
Most of the people playing, including me, don't know the pieces really well. It's been nice to just be in a section together with everyone on the same page and just seeing it progress.
He was on his deathbed, and he's sort of remembering his life and dreaming a little bit, not doing so well. And then he starts to think about his life, and then he thinks about all the struggles he had during his life. So that's where we are here. So right with the pizzicato, which is where a drum comes in on here and wakes everybody up in the audience if they've fallen asleep already, okay? So 1, 2, 3.
That's how we do it.
It's a life and death struggle, so don't get too beautiful. So it's nice to go, oh, so this lovely, but it's just me, and then keep it going. Really go at it, okay? There'll be lots of beautiful things you can play. So right in here we need to have struggle, okay? Well, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Sustain. Crescendo, 1, 2, and 1, 2. That's a little bit of a memory. 1, 2, 3. With a vibrato. 1, 2, 3. It's way too long. This is not that difficult a passage, so we get sometimes in the easy passages we get a little bit lazy with the intonation. You can't do that, okay? Once again.
I first went to U of T, I was both a music major and was also playing on the football team there. And I think a lot of my interests in university in general was to be a football player. But then I got there and I realized that I couldn't be a successful musician or even a successful music student if I wasn't fully committed to doing that at all times. And then that brought up a lot more conversation with my parents, with my friends about how realistic being a football player is. And then, fortunately, at the same time, I just suddenly, something kind of clicked with my bass playing where I would be practicing and all of a sudden the idea of getting to practice for several hours a day became kind of like it was like a privilege rather than a chore. I've never played Strauss's Death and Transfiguration before. Strauss has a habit of writing some of the, well, I guess had a habit of writing some of the most intense and just invigorating bass parts that I've ever seen. Here at NYO, there's this remarkable community that they built. Everyone gets along, and we just enjoy playing with each other. The reality is that once we leave here, we're going to be competing against each other for the same professional jobs.
All set?
And that's just something that is very difficult to not be thinking about at all times. The first couple of days, Jeremy never played.
Okay, mezzo forte.
The third day, he shows up with his bass, and as soon as he plays, it's just like half of our jaws just hit the floor. Working with Jeremy has just been amazing for me. He's made such a difference in my playing and even just my approach to life as a professional musician. Playing in an orchestra of this size and of this caliber is one of the most exciting things that I've ever done in my entire life.
This orchestra will only be together until the end of this tour. This orchestra will cease to exist, which is something I think we kind of forget about. You know, we rehearsed together for a relatively short period of time for the amount of repertoire we were doing, new repertoire. And then on tour, very demanding tour, and then all of a sudden, it goes. And that's it, poof, disappears. So this is a very special moment for everybody, and that combination of players will never happen again. I've treated them as professionals, and I expect from them a professional standard. Some of these students are really fine, fine, fine players.
As long as I remember, I've always said I want to become a professional musician. Even when I started, it wasn't an option to do something else. My parents are not musicians at all. Actually, I asked them to start violin at the age of 3. And they made me do some, musical things like with xylophones and percussion and dance. But I was kind of a little bit stubborn in my lessons, and I was just talking about violin.
So nice. You play the notes very well. But I have a feeling, you're sort of like you're saying, I'm gonna play every note. I'm gonna, But I think you can have more charm, articulation. That kind of note has to speak. Those notes have to pop. They have to shoot out there. And before we know it, it's gone. The audience should go, "Ooh, what was that? That was nice." Yeah, you're working way too hard. Relax the arm. You don't have to be loud. It's how clear you are that matters. Yeah, but don't fall behind. You keep falling behind. That's when music sounds like, oh, it's so hard, I cannot keep going. Keep it lively. Once more. Yeah, once more. Yes. Spiccato. General. Fortissimo. Yes.
Strauss denied that this is about himself, but it's kind of, the musicologist said it's about himself because at the time that he wrote it, he was very ill. And this is about the guy who was dying, right? So kind of tragic story. Yeah. So here, this theme here, he described it as a motif, will to live. I don't want to die, right? I want to live. So with that in mind, 2, 3, 4, 1. And sustain long no.
Now that we get to know more the notes, we can go more in the expression.
Still being here. these are nice 60 notes.
We were working on some intonation things, where to place the notes, the fingerboard, and actually he said, give a character to each note. Each note has its own personality. Mark is really, he's amazing, you know, he does all those faces for each note, and it works. It was in tune after.
Say. It's a really angelic moment. It's the color that's important. Of course, it has to be quiet.
I would never play a piece of music without contemplating the feelings involved. I think that's not doing the composer justice. I think we have to completely contemplate every single possible emotion. Horn is on its way to becoming a more gender-balanced instrument. It depends where you are. I mean, in Europe, it's different. Sarah Willis, she's the fourth horn of the Berlin Philharmonic, and she was the first female brass player ever in the Berlin Philharmonic, which is a centuries-old orchestra. So I think the world is changing. None of them are weird about me being a girl. They're really inclusive and treat me the same.
It's pretty good for a first read.
Studying with Gabe's incredibly inspiring.
We're talking about Richard Strauss, a great genius of humanity. Is that an overstatement? No, that's not an overstatement. Richard Strauss is a great genius of humanity, and he wrote this work, and it mattered a hell of a lot to Strauss. He wrote this straight from his heart. It's about death, and who doesn't fear death? Strauss deeply feared death. He was a jerk, right? Everyone said Strauss was a jerk. But he was intensely intelligent and also a little anxious, and he was terrified of death. And yet he wrote a piece about it, a kind of incredible testament to dying, okay? Often I think about my responsibility as a musician, as an artist. What is it? We go to an art gallery, and we see Van Gogh up on the wall. And we go there and we look at it and we consider it and go like this. And that's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. And yet our job is to actually pick up paintbrushes and try to paint the Van Gogh. Like our job is to be Strauss's interpreter of death.
The study of a piece like that, to endure 2.5 weeks of rehearsals and a month of tour, and for it still to mean something every time, really requires a lot of introspection.
We have to get ourselves into the position of being a man dying in his bed. I don't know if any of you have ever seen anybody die. Perhaps you have. I don't want to press any nerves. But if you have seen someone die, and you see it go through their eyes, you see this stuff go through them. There's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of urgency, there's a lot of everything.
There's a great deal of reflecting on his youth, his military past. There's a march, there's a love theme for his first love.
This is love. I mean, there's no doubt about this. That's it, then it makes it so much easier for her when she comes in. With me. Okay, you still haven't quite got it, have you? Let's do it again.
With this group, there is a certain maturity in their thought. You know, the average age is about 22. They're not kind of thinking, oh, what's life, what's death? They're not concepts that they're unaware of.
That in Transfiguration, it will be one of the most challenging pieces we will have to play here. The bassoon part in the Strauss is quite difficult. To see all these alterations and just read them really fast. Nobody wants to play the bassoon in high school, and they just give this instrument, oh, you play bassoon now. And it's like everybody begin the bassoon. It sounds really like a forest, I think. And it looked like a forest, it looked like a tree, and it's big, and it has this wonderful sound that I really like, and it's quite unique. I really don't like to have to worry about reeds. I think there is not anything that's worse for a bassoon player or an oboe player.
You have to know that the reed is really integral to your sound. I can't stress enough how important the reed is. I make reeds more than I practice, honestly. For oboe reeds, it's something that's like a constant turnover. And if you're going to be a professional, like playing as much as professionals do, you really have to put in a lot of time, and I'm totally a control freak. What staples are you using? That's the bit that you tie the cane onto. Then you get into knives. There's so many different types of knives and different ways to sharpen your knives. If you don't have a sharp knife, then you're basically doomed. What happens if your gouger goes out of whack? Then you have to go send it to someone to be fixed, and that can take forever.
One of the differences between me and a lot of the people here is that they had this plan from a very young age to pursue music. I definitely started taking it seriously a lot later than most. I still totally feel clueless about what I want to do with it.
And a lot of character in A flat. Yes, good. And yeah, even E flat could be a little bit more pointing, lower. That semitone. Good. Before the next note,
I was born in Tehran, Iran, and I moved to Toronto, Canada at the age of 8. I think a lot of the reason that I stayed in music for all of these years was my mom. Especially when we moved here, she felt it was necessary for me to express myself because there was obviously a language barrier at first, and I think it was just a good thing to focus on.
And vibratissimo.
Southern Transfiguration, I really, really, really like that piece. It's probably because of how expressive it allows the players to be. I do find it confusing.
1, 2, 3, 4, and
being in a creative field and wanting to express myself.
2, 3, 4, 1, take time.
But also needing to confine myself in rigid structure that's been predefined. I don't think I'm alone in feeling a little bit confused.
We were playing through a slightly more intense than usual bass part, and all of a sudden I got this weird shock that kind of stemmed from my neck, went all the way down my arm, and forced my hand to open, and I just dropped my bow and my hand was numb. That's fine now, but the fact that it happened is worrisome. I guess what's running through my head the most right now is I really don't want to get sent home.
Did you study with Dick Kilmer? Dick Kilmer? Yeah, you were okay. I'm about to quote him, so I thought maybe I was quoting your teacher. You have 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes. Just
3, 4.
One melody will be given from one instrument to the other, just to have that change of tone. When you have 8 musicians, and sometimes even more in the pieces we're playing this year, it's hard for the pitch and it's hard for the blend, but it's so fulfilling when that works.
Strauss, you get so many colors out of the orchestra, and you can really hear the end of the piece. The color it's so transparent and shimmery and delicate. It's a very beautiful piece.
So we just came a little apart, a little bit intonation-wise, right at the truncula. So.
I'm 23, but I'm in a a moment where I think a lot about that, because you get closer to what being a professional musician is, and also you feel like dreams that you had or things that you wanted to study before, you feel that they're maybe slipping out of your hands. You're like, oh, I'm getting into real life now. We practice so much that at some point, like, you want to get to that higher level. Even if it's not method acting, you want to get at that level when you can really just think about music. You don't want to be thinking about like, okay, 1, 2, breath, air in the clarinet, tongue at that moment, and so on. So everything, you want everything to kind of be one. I'm really flabbergasted by that. How like just thinking about this emotion really changes the way we play, because it does, but there's nothing that I really change consciously. Like I don't tell myself, oh, if I want to sound like a dying man, I will put more air or more tongue. It happens unconsciously.
Oops. See you.
See you.
So we don't have all the basses in here.
I know. How many basses was that?
7?
7?
No, we fit all 7 with 2 harps.
Yeah, 7 basses and 2 harps.
Very impressive. Right now, the Vancouver Symphony, the principal harp position is open, and all of us are auditioning for that. The doors are closed too fast. I'm always worried that they're going to crash the harp one day.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really affect, I think, our relationship. And actually, Clara and I were talking the other day, and we said we're so happy that we're doing it together because we can keep each other sane. Strauss is just, he's such an incredible orchestrator. And with his writing when it comes to harp as well, most of the time what we're playing isn't actually heard that much, it's more to add color. I find it fascinating that he was 24 when he wrote Death and Transfiguration. At first I thought, oh gosh, what have I done with my life? You know, I've no achievements whatsoever, and here he's done this. It's so profound that somebody at that young of an age understood completely what death and transfiguration meant. Sort of seeing his mind as well, even at that young age, is just, yeah, it blows you away.
When you're learning music with a deadline, there is a little bit of stress. I'm working on 6 pieces at the same time, and they all have concerts. There's a little bit of stress. Being a percussionist in an orchestra is also a little bit stressful because there's only one of you. I hate to pick on violinists or string players, but if you're a string player and you decide to miss a note, there's a dozen other people playing the same note, so probably nobody will notice.
Oh man, my shoulder, so low from like carrying tubas. At the moment, I'm training to be an orchestral player. I'm going to a huge school. Like I'm going to study with the big get a job tuba player. Like it's going to be like, this is how you get into an orchestra. Like that's what I'm expecting. But I don't think of that as my musical be all and end all. I play the tuba to express myself. And I mean, like I play classical music because I enjoy it and because I think there's a lot to it, but I want to be able to play anything. I just want to be able to play. Even just like indulging in the sound. It's so rich and full, and there's so much you can do with it. There's so many lovely moments. There's tuba solos at the end. We get the Transfiguration theme.
Gentle ending trombones. Gentle rhythmically, that is.
Death is something that I have a difficult time thinking about. Like, what is death? How do I feel about life? Especially how do I feel about life? Like, what does that mean to me? But I think one thing that I definitely feel in Death and Transfiguration is this kind of, like, I feel the importance of transcendence, like the importance of like ego death. It's like, I'm not sitting here thinking about, am I gonna screw up what the person next to me is doing? Or I don't want to be, at least. I want to forget about everything and I want to get past my thoughts and I just want to experience making this music.
Find practice time here at NYO. I try to fit it in wherever I can. The number of hours I practice really varies, anywhere from 1 hour to at the most probably 5. I rarely take a day off.
Grade 7 was when I picked up the trumpet. That was my first choice. As soon as I picked it up, I knew this was for me, and I just loved it. I remember I came home one day, this was like 2 weeks into music class, and I came home and I walked in my living room, I said, "Hey Mom, Dad, listen to this." And it was the theme from William Tell. And they were watching some TV, they were like, "Ujjwal, another time, not right now."
It's fantastic. Your last note, finish it. Oh. Oh God, was that okay? Let's do it again.
Performance anxiety is never something I had to struggle with when I was younger. And I think that's the case for many people. Performance anxiety kicked in, I would say, in my first year at school. There was just a little bit of pressure that I put on myself. I think I realized that, wow, this is what I'm doing now. This is it. To be honest, a little bit of that persists even today. But it's something that I'm working on, it's something that I'm trying to improve and deal with it in a positive and effective way.
So who among you has ever thought, oh, I can't do this, this is too hard, or I'm not good enough? Probably everybody at some point, right? During the first 20 years of my professional career, I would be hit by stage fright like out of the blue. Most of my problem was a little voice in my head saying, oh, you can't do this. You're not as good as the other guys. You're going to screw up. Oh, I'm useless. I'll never play. I'll never be good. Ask yourself, is it helping me to think like that? And then you reframe the thought. If you've got a negative thought in your head that is not helpful, you've got to recognize it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an F. One and.
Gentlemen, if you can do one button up, you could, then we get a V. One, two, three. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Woo!
There's a couple of these moments on the tour. So you have to look at the schedule and go, what do I need to do to make this happen? To put yourself in the best position to succeed that next day.
The other thing is, there will be critics at these concerts. We already know, they've already told us they're coming. We want you to give your best, and I know you will, but just pace yourselves because you're not going to make it through to the end of the tour if you don't.
The other one that's out there is for the other harp then?
Correct. Yeah, I'll help you with that.
Can you hold the case?
Yeah.
Don't you lose those instructions.
It's against, I think it's the other one.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Music, as I understand it, is a performing art, and it's kind of a spectator sport. People pay to go and watch us perform. So as a musician, our goal is to make the best possible music, go to the concert hall and play it, and entertain the people who have paid money.
everyone plays hurt. You just gotta work your way around and figure out what tricks let you play without having any serious issues.
Huge. I didn't think that. I love when the halls are really tall. It makes it feel pretty legit.
I think a little bit of nerves is always healthy, because that means you care about the performance.
I feel pretty good. It feels like a big weight has been lifted, and everyone came up and everyone said, good job, and I told them a good job because I think the orchestra played great. I'm just gonna find my parents. When the NYO tour came out, the details of it, I told my parents, and they've always wanted to see the Maritimes. They said, this is perfect. We can take a trip to the east, and we can go see your concert. Hello.
Hello, Joel. How
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, very much.
Good, I'm glad. Where's Mom?
She should be around.
Did you enjoy it?
Very much. It was
good.
It was awesome.
Good, I'm glad.
Lovely to hear you play.
Yeah, some things were good, some things could be better.
It sounded like a river.
Oh, really?
Starting out, becoming aggressive, slowing down, and then finally emptying into the ocean. That's how I felt.
Oh, really? Good.
Tour feels kind of like surreal and not like real life. So if we're traveling for like 30 hours and not practicing consistently and then playing a big concert, that can be tricky.
It's so early that we're all just, we don't know what to do with ourselves. On the train.
Well, having done 2 tours already, this is the hardest one that I've ever done, physically and emotionally as well, just because it is so long.
I think just the traveling in general takes a toll on the body, on the mind, and it would be nice to have a little bit more time to just like recuperate after. There's a lot of stress just to make sure that everything goes smoothly and that everything is like lined up. But I think that ultimately at the end of each performance we're very content. We have given it our all.
Well, it's hard to stay at your kind of peak performance level when you're on a 26-day tour. It's definitely been good training in survival skills. And I haven't made reads since the beginning of the tour. I have never not made reads for that long.
Just being able to arrive in a space 3 hours before a show and go, okay, this is a totally different acoustic from where we played yesterday. It was a really great experience to have to do something that professionals do.
Every single concert or performance, it's different. How we feel, are we tired, do we feel ready or not? And this is quite intense. But the goal, and I think we all want that, is to make this adrenaline positive. I've dreamt of playing in this hall since I'm really small, so maybe, well, I'm not that tall.
I've been tired for the past month. Some nights I'll get a good night's sleep, other days I'll get 3 hours of sleep. Being around people constantly, and then you have roommates in your hotel, and you know, it's a lot.
Busy, yeah. Every other day it's like, don't talk to me. I'm having fun, don't talk to me. I'm just gonna go do my own thing, and I hope you have a nice time, but I can't deal with 100 people 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Being with 100 people and just having one goal and just going to that goal.
So we've been to Stratford, Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Charlottetown, Halifax, then we flew to Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Edmonton, Whitehorse, Nanaimo, and now we're here.
Yeah.
This has been the most ambitious tour of probably any orchestra in this country ever. Between the cities, the travel, I did the math today. We did the equivalent of 43% of the circumference of the Earth in kilometers traveled today. I came up with 17,000 kilometers. Which is just unbelievable. And I've never said this before. I'm not one to blow sunshine. Like, you guys were the best orchestra I could have ever done it with. The staff said it too. They said it over and over throughout the tour. I mean, we didn't want to tell you at the time because, we got to keep you on your toes. But you guys were amazing. Like, you were put through the ringer. This tour was like, it was amazing, I think, but it was also really hard work. And you should be very proud. You guys have come out on the other end together.
I think this one will be good.
Yeah.
This is the 12th and last concert. It's also the last day of tour. There might be a lot of emotions later. We'll see what happens. People start to understand that NYU is coming to an end.
We spend 90% of our time in the practice room and we're working on things and we're trying to figure out solutions to the problems we're experiencing. But then when we get on stage and we have those moments where, you know, we really feel it and we know that the audience is feeling it because we're feeling it, that's the best feeling. That's what I live for, and I think that's why a lot of musicians play music.